Charles Lyell, Charles Lyell, 1830, he came up with this theory of uniformitarianism. And this is going to be really important because this is one of the key presuppositions of Darwinian evolution. And as you can see, both of these guys predate Darwin. So Darwin's theories didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was part of the culture and the intellectual thinking of his day. Gradualism and now uniformitarianism. And uniformitarianism states that things are happening today like they happened yesterday, like they happened 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago. And the reason this is important is this is the foundation for almost all scientific dating techniques. We start with the assumption that there is a regular rate of decay of either carbon or radium or argon or different chemicals. And when we can look at how much is left in an object, we base it off the presupposition of how much should have been there at the beginning. And when we look at the half-life rates of decay, like of carbon-14, we can get estimates of how old we think things are. But once again, it's based on the presupposition that things happening today are like they happened in the past. So it's definitely following the gradualism model. Any questions or comments on that? Let me give one more example just because it's important. I believe the estimates of how long it took the Colorado River to carve out the Grand Canyon range anywhere from 7 to 30 million years. And if someone wants to Google that for me, so I'm not just making up my own numbers, I'd be curious what you get. But the way they get those dates is if you can measure the flow of the Colorado River and how much sediment it's removing in an hour, you simply times that by 24 and then times that by 365, and that will tell you how much sediment the Colorado River is removing from that plateau in a year. And then if you can calculate how much mass has been removed from that mile-deep canyon, and you divide that into the number, it will tell you how many years it took that river to carve out that much sediment. So it's very logical, but I just want to point out the presupposition. It's presupposing the Colorado River is flowing today like it was yesterday, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago. And that's a huge presupposition, in my opinion. Did someone get a date for how old the Grand Canyon is?
It said from like 5 to 6 million.
Okay, so more on the low end of what I said. So thank you, 5 to 6 million. But that's how they're getting that date. Does that make sense to you guys? It's just a calculation based on this uniformitarian presupposition. And I'm not saying it's a bad way to do it. I just want to point out that part of science, it's being inferred, it's not being observed, because no one has been around for 5 to 6 million years to watch that river carve out that canyon. So we have to use inferences, and inferences involve presuppositions. Does that make sense? I get into this big time in philosophy of origins, but I think that's enough for what we're doing. Okay.
The name of the first person one more time? Sorry about that.
The first person was James Hutton, and he was the gradualism guy. And then Charles Lyell came up with uniformitarianism.